Hey everybody, Texas Truck here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star, Motorparts.com. It's Sunday fun day for the Ram Revival. We got the screen door up, got some fresh air coming in, and we got a bit of parts here. I've lost another gallon. I don't know what it is. It just gets so hot in here, like when I'm at work. I think I've lost 2 or 3 gallons. They just blow up in the back of the truck. Of course, that's what happened in the truck, which is why I had to buy that rigid fan. Fit nicely under the carpet, which is what we will be using tonight. But what we've got going on right now for the Ram Revival is right here. Giant box from LMC. It's also a very lightweight box. It's also so large in a little stuffed shop that it's difficult to put anywhere that we can actually film this any good. So what we have here, this is a dash replacement, not a skin, not a cover, not something that we glue on, not something that we silicone on. This is the proper way to do it. This is something that didn't enter the market for quite some time. They've developed their own dash. It supposedly is made from plastic that will not decompose and degrade under UV light like the factory did. And that is, of course, a welcome change. We've also got some other stuff in there, but let's go ahead and jump in the truck. All right, so here we are. We are in the truck. Hadn't been in the truck in a while. We're usually under the hood or in the engine bay. It's a nice change of scenery, I must say. Now, factory dash, factory layout, I really have no complaints with it. Now, if you're curious what this glorious little thing is here, that if we zoom in, you'll see Dolby there. It's not a tool holder. It's not a mini Cobra slot. It's not a precision screwdriver dispenser. It's what they called a cassette deck. And true story, this right here was the top of the line radio you could get in a 2nd gen Ram in 2001. Reason for that, your kind of step below this would be a CD player. This was a CD player and a cassette deck. That's right, you had 2 in 1. So this is essentially, you know, like if you hadn't fully transitioned from cassettes, they had you covered as you converted over to CDs or compact discs as they were once known. You'd be covered whatever you were doing. So the bezel, however, is another issue. You can kind of see it's pretty simple. They do make an interesting little gauge pod for that area. But if I come up top, the bezel itself is actually in decent shape until we get to this point. At this point, it is split, it is cracked. I'm interested in if there is a mounting point behind that or not. And that is the only real issue with the bezel itself. Now, the dash on 2nd gen Rams, particularly 98 to 01, they just fail. They crack. This might be a Guinness World Record for the most intact original dash. Maybe there's something off in a cold climate or somewhere that's doing better, just like a bubble truck or something. But every little recess you see like this, there's actually a fastener in there, all right? That's going to essentially go straight down to the firewall. That is where your stress fractures begin. I don't know if it's just the vibration plus the UV rays or what exactly, but when we come to slot 2, there's a hairline crack there, and if I press down, you can see it a little bit better, right? We come into the center dash, and you can see it is already raised up at the back. And then if I do this, this one has made it all the way from the firewall to the instrument bezel. It's actually going down, so that's going to be shot. Right there, it becomes even more violent up and uprising. This being, of course, right above the airbag. And then there is a little bit of a rise over there from the 5th mounting location. Now, it seems to me, from what I always see, that 2, 3 being the middle, and 4, so your 2 inboard and the dead middle, that seems to be where the majority of the cracks begin. What happens to a lot of people is, instead of the cracks just coming up here, you know, from the firewall to the instrument bezel, they'll then splinter or trail off. And when you have fracture 1 joined with fracture 2, you just have large chunks of your dash completely collapse. Now, number 1, that looks terrible. I mean, like, even if this is your beater work truck, that's something that bothers you. It's not right. It doesn't look good. And then the bigger issue past that is when this dash is gone, regardless of, you know, any issues it may have, everything under the dash is exposed, which that's going to be a good chunk of it is going to be a heater box, you know, essentially from like there to there, all right, hidden under the dash. Up top, you're going to have wiring, and more wiring, tons of wiring. if your dash is gone, that wiring is just direct baking in your windshield. Now, my truck, when I first got it, I am the original owner. It sat out for a couple of years, really. And this is in Texas, same area. So super hot, not necessarily humid. That would be rare for us, but dry and hot. I picked up some sunshades over the years. Really wish I would have known a Covercraft. They make a better one, but I cleaned the snot out of it when I was in high school and college. Kept it really, really oiled up. I don't know if that was good or bad. But then the dash covers, I do think, when I say dash cover, I'm talking like a windshield sunshade in this instance. I think those do help. And as soon as I get this done and the truck's back on the road, I'm going to treat this one to one from Covercraft. I've got one from my Challenger. I actually really like it. It's just kind of a thicker material. Seems to do a good job. I have infrared gun tested it to confirm that it works. But this is what we've got in that box, is the dash replacement, right? And we're going to take a look at that. We'll see kind of what our time frame is. What LMC did that's kind of cool is, if you note right here, okay, we've got a vent sort of built in, right? Well, they have replicated that in their dash. Similarly, if we pop up here, you can kind of make out what would be a rubber seal between the A-pillar and the dash. They've actually included those as well. The instrument bezels, when we come up here, we're actually going to have the vents included. So they've done some good things. The problem is, right, and this is what concerns me. I've never tried to pull the dash. We're going to do that today. But the top, we know that it's just, it's waiting to go. It's not a question of when, a question of if, it's a question of when type of deal, right? Well, the lower plastic, I don't know why it would be any different of a material, and the problem I've got is nobody repops that. That's not remanufactured. There's no real covers for it. I've already got an issue where every stain in this truck is on this side, because that's where my girlfriends would sit, right? And one time, I think it was a shake or a coffee, I can't remember, something spilled, and I was like, well, there's napkins in the glove box, and I stockpile napkins because I know that's going to happen. And innocently enough, the chick shut the glove box, and I guess the napkins were just off just a little bit, right? Something like that. And it broke the plastic pin at the bottom of the glove box. So that's something that bothers me. It looks fine right now, the latch, and it'll maintain the gap. Everything looks mint. But if you open it up, which I guess I'll do right now for you, it drops down a little bit more on this side, and then when I go to shut it, it kind of drags. That's because it just broke. It was a plastic pin, which seems stupid to me. So maybe we'll get to address that. It's a center section right here. This is your cup holders, if you were unaware. And then we've got like the change tray. Despise secondhand smoke. But that's where we're at there. Just your kick panel, and all of that has held up fairly well. But my fear is, when I get everything loosened up and we're ready to pull this out, is it going to be something that falls apart? And, that I don't know. I think I've got some help. Maybe my sister, nephew, mom, who knows. Maybe some combination of the three will get over here. Just because, one, it's a really tight shop. I mean, you know, we're stuffed full in here with cars and parts and engines and all kinds of crud that's in my way. So, but that's what we're going to do. I think what we'll do is try to crack open that LMC box, kind of showcase the new dash, and then I want it out of there and move somewhere safe so I can take this old dash and I guess put on top of that box, because again, we are pressed for space in this place. So that's kind of the issue. Again, this does not look that bad. Keep in mind, this is an 01, and if you've got a second gen Ram with a factory dash and it is in this good of a shape, you're doing something right, or you got really lucky, or maybe you just live in a cold climate. But, typically these things have degraded. Like I said, if you ever come in and you see like a thick cover or a color that doesn't quite match the rest of the dash, particularly like it won't ever cover this airbag in here, right? So if you see something thick and a different grain or a different color, your truck is probably sporting a dash cap that was glued on, and there's a good chance if you were to ever take that off or pull your glove box, your heater box, your instrument bezel, whatever it might be, you would look up with a flashlight and you'd probably see large chunks of plastic missing before you get to your cover. So I'll have a link to the LMC dash down below. The price seems to vary. Sometimes you can catch them on sale and stuff. But like I said, this is actually not that bad. But just since being parked here, I feel like it's this one that's come up. And then again, where that's on the rise and going back to the Firewall, that's going to be a critical failure. And just once one section of this goes, whichever one it is, it's just going to be dominoes over time. So we're going to go ahead while everything is torn apart. We're going to mitigate it. Plus, that gives us a chance to do some other things. Pull the heater core, replace it just because we're in here. Again, this is not something that if you're taking this off, it makes sense to do it whether it needs it or not. I'm a guy, I don't really run an air conditioner or a heater. And maybe mine's in mint shape, maybe it's toasty, it has been 20 years, but I'm just going to go ahead. I've got a new one, we're going to drop it in, we're going to see how that goes. Because again, with the engine out of the engine bay, I've got a lot of open space up there. But that would probably be the most glaring cosmetic flaw with a second gen Ram. 94 to 01, again 98 to 02 in particular. I'm not sure the 94 through 96 or 7 might actually not have quite as bad of a dash, but 98 to 02 we got shafted, needless to say. There were multiple attempts at class action lawsuits. Ultimately, if I remember right, I think it came down to it's not really a safety issue, it's cosmetic, and they just kind of washed their hands of it and refused to do anything. But for the original owners, I think it would have been nice to throw them a bone and, you know, done something, give them credit, give them a couple free oil changes, I don't know. But like I said, this is actually not that bad, but it is getting there. This, interestingly enough, I think happened to be before any of the other dash cracks, so I always found that to be quite interesting, because typically it was the dash that would fail before the instrument bezel. But like I said, that is it on the instrument bezel. The rest of it is mint. So with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed this tour of the truck. Let's get the box open and take it from there. All right, so it's always important for me to showcase how things come packed up. Again, shout out here if you're from the tool side. This thing is awesome. It's stainless. It's one of the late editions. But no staples, which I was surprised of in the box. Now you can see a nice layer of bubble wrap sort of encompassing the dash. I assume the bezel's probably down in there. And then you also see the plastic wrap around the bubble wrap. So not a ton of excess packing, no packing peanuts, no foam fillers, no airbags type of stuff that we can see. But it did get here intact, in shape. It is a decently thick piece of cardboard, so that's nice. Again, I was kind of surprised no staples held it together. But it looks like it is intact. Hopefully it's going to be the correct camel color for me. But I like to showcase this, so I'm going to slide this thing out, get it on top of the box. We'll take a look at it, make sure the color's good, and get back to work. Check it out. Our synopsis was correct. The little extra package down in the middle was the bezel. I gotta say it looks great. I will also say this as somebody that is the original owner of a Dodge truck from 2001. This, I never remember it looking quite like this, and I don't mean any cracks, you know, anything cosmetic like that. I mean the color. The grain on this also seems to be a little bit more noticeable and aggressive. Now that said, am I going to nitpick and care about that? No, because if this lasts, this is a great piece. But in terms of, you got to realize I'm coming from like the old school Mopar land. So this is a deal. This would be a fantastic piece. This would be great for everything but like a gold class resto, or a guy that wanted his car as original as possible. But just the color contrast kind of between the vents and the rest of the bezel is off a bit in my opinion. Also, again, I think the texture is a little bit more aggressive. But as I mentioned, I don't really care, because I'm going to install it, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to be happy with it. I don't think we're to the point where people are going around trying to gold standard a second gen Ram just yet. It's still a very popular truck. But I tell you what, this is a beautiful piece, and I am just excited it is on the marketplace. As I mentioned, the vents are installed. Let's see if I can one-hand this for you. We'll take a look at the back side. Alright, so right here you can see the clips. This is actually nice to look at ahead of time, because I will have a rough idea of where I need to pull. So we've got two on the driver's side here below the vent, and then as we come up, we've got one right above where our headlight stuff would be. Above the instrument cluster, it looks like we're going to have 3 clips. Coming over here, right above the center ducts, there will be 2 clips. Right to the side of the center ducts, this long rectangular opening, that would be your heater controls. We'll have a clip there. We do have one right here by my thumb. We've also got one right below the radio on both sides. And then we've got one over there sort of between the open slot and the airbag. This is about to fall down into the box. I'm going to grab it and prevent that. But again, do I think it's 100% perfect and correct? No, but do I really care? Absolutely not, because again, this one, the way they've designed it and formulated, they claim that it won't dry rot in the sun, and that to me is an upgrade. Plus, it's also not correct, and the vents are installed. So no plastic welding, nothing crazy like that for us. But I'm going to catch this, and I'll take you to the tailgate where we will look at our brand new dash from LMC Truck. Alright, so here we are. I got to admit, I was very concerned for a couple of moments in time. Reason being, not that there's a crack or anything crazy like that. If there is, I haven't seen it yet. But I'm seeing this as I'm taking all the wrapping off, right? And I'm thinking, oh no, they've done it. They sent the gray dash, and then I got over here and I kind of started seeing some tan sections, and I thought, wait, maybe it's okay. And then we opened her up, and sure enough, it's beautiful. So, factory color on my truck, which I guess is not that common, it was actually a camel tan. Not saddle, that would be old school, but camel. And this looks to be fairly decent. And again, just looking at this, I realize it's brand new. I realize it's kind of in more of a direct light, but I'm kind of thinking this might be a little bit darker than the rest of the dash. Like, it almost has more of a golden color. Which again, it is 20 years old, so who knows, maybe it was like this. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no. But again, this is a thick, let's come in and prove that right there, right? This is a thick, feels good dash. It's extremely solid. Look at the ribbing here in terms of what they've added for strength. Again, once we get the factory dash out, we'll kind of see, did they have any of this? Did they direct copy it and just use a better plastic? Did they truly come in and engineer and improve this as they went? We'll figure all that out. But obviously, if you have just a giant sheet of plastic from here to there, it's not going to be very strong. So what these do is they actually add strength. And then, of course, if that's centered around your mounting points, you're building structure to the panel, which is a nice thing to see. Right here, these are the A-pillar seals that they have included for us. I don't know what's up with that one. Maybe there's adhesive tape or something on the flip side. Again, the dash vents that I showed you over there, those are included. We've got some hardware here. I'll have to remember to take that off, or we'll have something rattling around trying to figure it out for quite some time. But it looks pretty solid from this side. Let's try again to flip her around and simulate what it would be like in the truck. The fact I can pick that up from just this back defrost duct is pretty reassuring. So right here, you're going to see something black. This is felt. It feels like felt. It smells like felt, and it is felt. It's adhesive backed felt. It is designed to kind of be an anti-rattle type of a deal. They sell a kit where you can put those everywhere. My thing is, it was not in stock, and it was not something they would let me add to the cart when I placed this order, so I was a little sad about that. But looking down on the dash, you can see right here, that's going to be mounting point 1, mounting point 2, 3, our central one, 4, and somewhere under the wrap, we'll have our corner one on the passenger side for the 5th wrap. Now, coming in over here, this is definitely not the factory color at all. That's not even close. Maybe for like the agate or gray dash, however you would pronounce that. Mine are certainly not that color scheme on the saddle truck, camel truck, I should say. Right in here, though, we're going to have a bunch of clips. Again, this is where our airbag will rest. But overall, even if the color is not spot on, which I don't believe it is here either, it's brand new, it's made out of a better plastic, and that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. Again, if in 20 years I've still got the truck and they're super popular and collectors and rare because everyone's torn them up and trashed them and turned 5 trucks into one type of a deal, maybe at that point in time there will be some other offerings on the market, or people will nitpick this sort of a thing. But right now, as of 2020, with everything going on in the world, this is a killer setup. Price is not ridiculous for what it is. I do think it could be less and they'd sell more. But again, the alternative is just siliconing a piece of plastic over your dash, and I'm not about that. So if you are ever in the market for a 2nd gen Ram, try to figure out if it's got a carpet that's glued down. If it's a glued down carpet, you know it's covering something. If it's a plastic cap that's glued down. See if you like it, see if you can tolerate it, and if it's something that looks good that doesn't have cracks, ask them if they did the LMC dash replacement, because that would be a selling point. So this is what it looks like though, and given that we spent so much time on this, I think I'm just going to make a standalone for the install, and removal, possibly even a standalone for the install. But this will showcase it to you. This, in my opinion, is the best option on the market. It's really the only full replacement dash. I do believe, as of me recording this, you can still find some new old stock Mopar. All right, you're probably going to pay $600 to $800 depending on the dealership. There's also a good chance that it's disintegrated in the box before it gets to you. It's just that bad of a plastic. All right, so do what you want to, do what you will. If you go to a wrecking yard, unless you find some LMC dash in one, you're most likely not going to be able to remove the dash, keep it intact, get it installed in your truck, and have it intact. It's just the plastic is that bad. Again, I think they've probably corrected it. You've seen manufacturers across the board sort of go to more of like a softer finish dash, right? Almost like there's leather stitching on top of a plastic panel. So that's a great thing for people with new trucks. But again, if you're living in 94 to 01, the second gen Ram, the best looking trucks in the history of trucks, this is what I believe is going to be your best option. So let me know what you have done down below. Did you go with LMC? Did you do a dash cover or a dash cap or a carpeted mat before the LMC product was out? If so, is this enough to make you switch? Have you seen any in person? Can you vouch for the color accuracy between camel, gate, whatever, you just AGATE, it's like the gray color. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I don't think this is spot on by any means, but again, I'm okay with that. Again, it's sort of like a little bit shade lighter, I believe, than this one. Again, maybe the sun will lighten it up, who knows. I'm afraid when we get this together we're going to see the contrast, but that would actually be great for video purposes. So I'm going to see if they included any instructions with this or not, take it from there. But again, this is our LMC dash for my 2001 Ram. I'm very, very excited to get this sucker in. And spoiler alert, I will go ahead and tell you, since you watched to the end, couple of other upgrades make sense to do at this time. Number one, the heater core, which we vaguely mentioned. Number two, coming back into this area, the head unit. For years and years and years, there was no way to put a double DIN in a second gen Ram without hacking something up, doing something extreme custom. You can do a single DIN, but that's not much of an upgrade, right? You know, that's kind of, I've got that covered, and I keep my cassette deck, my beloved cassette deck, right? But finally, I think it was in the year 2018, maybe 2019, Metra. I don't know if this was a pet project, if this was a new employee, if they just were sick of every year getting thousands of emails from people. I'm not sure what prompted it, but they finally made a kit to put a double DIN in a second gen Ram. That's right, many of you probably don't even know. Many of you with second gen Rams, many of you who have owned a second gen Ram since its inception, were unaware of that, and that is something I'm going to be bringing in. I do believe, sadly, you have to cut on the instrument bezel, and we could conceivably ruin it, and that's a chance I'm willing to take. I'm a bit of an audiophile. This stereo from the factory has been fantastic, I will tell you that. But if I'm able to come in and get a big, 7-inch touchscreen, I can put my cool backdrops on it, have my factory illumination mounts, or if we customize the colors, whatever we do. If we're able to have navigation, we can mirror our phone. I can have hands-free calling. It's just all massive, massive upgrades of things that weren't even available in the top of the line in 2001. So I'm thinking we're definitely going to do that. That'll be something for you to look forward to in the Ram Revival. And again, it's something that's still somehow kind of flown under the radar, just because who expects that to be released 20 years after the truck? Right? I mean, if you had a 94, like, that's been over 20 years. It's insanity. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Again, the heater core makes sense to do. Maybe we cut into the heater box and do the blend door. I don't know. Again, I'm a guy, I grew up with old cars, so I don't really run the AC and the heater very often. It's usually like AC is reserved for a date, maybe the heater for a date. But if you're hauling like, you know, my mom or my nephew when he was little, you know, I turn it on. But if it's just me, I've got windows, I'm golden. And sometimes I would have to use the defroster, you know, because it would like fog the truck up, but it's one of those things. So little teaser of things to come, but again, initial inspection, I'm happy with it. It seems like a quality piece here on the tailgate and right out of the box. There's a couple of things I can nitpick, like the seal, the color, the texture may not be spot on. I will mention it as a complaint, but truthfully, I'm not that concerned about it. I want a good quality dash. If this goes in and it doesn't crack, I'm a happy man. So big thanks to LMC for putting this into production. I'm sure they sell a ton of them. Maybe this will help them move a few more, who knows, but this is what I decided was the best option for my truck. And like I said, if you've got first-hand experience with LMC or any of the other offerings, let me know. Similarly, if you've done something full-on custom, whether it be aluminum, stainless, fiberglass, by all means, let me know. Send some pictures. Love to see that kind of stuff. But I'm going to quit rambling. As always, thanks so much for watching. I got a lot of work to do to get that old dash out, and I believe I am going to get started.